Hey everyone, Flutes and Shard today. We're going to take a crack at revising the champion fighter. Come along with us for the ride. Here we go.
Yeah, sure. My name's Tim. My channel's called Shard, and Flutes and I have done a few collaborations now. So I write a few articles for Flutes Loot as well as a guest author, and I think this is the third time we've sat down and collaborated on a video as well. I think quite looking forward to seeing what we can do to make the champion fighter a bit more interesting.
Yeah, we've been enjoying doing these revision projects together, and so we said, what's the next one? And another underloved subclass is definitely the champion fighter from the player's handbook. There's just not a lot to it. It's very bland. We want to make it more exciting.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it would be nice for the champion fighter, to actually have something to do in combat, in particular, because a lot of their features are very passive, and so I think it'd be nice for them to have a little bit more interesting stuff to do.
As I was considering what I might do with the champion, I ended up, and you know that I kind of like to emulate what's already there, and you like to do the same, and so I kind of latched on to okay, so they've got this critical hit range that improves, and I decided a champion. They also have that level 18 survivor feature where they can regain hit points if they're low, just passively. Maybe that's a good theme to latch onto, so they just have a lot of endurance in battle. And also the fact that they get an extra fighting style is pretty benign, but I decided maybe we could do something where we give them a greater fighting style, like a true mastery of it. And so a lot of my ideas feed into those concepts that I latched onto. What are kind of your overarching thoughts on it before we get into the specifics?
Yeah, I was thinking about leaning into the critical hit, adding a bit more. So when a champion lands a critical hit, to actually get a bit more out of it than just the crit itself. So some kind of minor debuff or a buff for themselves. So I was looking at that. So to get a little extra benefit from the fact that they have this expanded critical hit range compared to all the other fighters. And yeah, I had some ideas about the fighting style that you get at 10th level as well. So I think we'll probably have some fun looking at that feature, what we can do to make that a bit more interesting. Yeah.
So we're going to go, basically, the champion gets features at level 3, 7, 10, 15, and 18. So we're going to go through each of these one at a time and just kind of give our thoughts, and we're going to workshop. Based on this call, I'll probably publish an article about our own champion fighter revision.
Yeah, okay, so we've got the improved critical, which is where we start with the champion. So when you first choose this archetype at 3rd level, you can score a critical hit on a roll of 19 or 20. And I think this is probably the most popular feature of the champion at the moment. The champion does feature quite a lot in sort of multi-classing builds, where people will dip three levels just for this, so that they can get critical hits more often. And there's a few critical hit fishing builds built around this, being able to land crits more often and then do something impactful when you get it. My idea for that, I think it's over here, was that after a critical hit against a creature, you could gain a +2 bonus to your next attack roll against that creature, and a +2 bonus to damage if that attack hits. So the idea is you kind of staggered the creature a bit with this critical hit that you're so good at, and then you get a bonus for your next attack against the same creature if you're able to attack it again. So that was my idea for that feature.
I kind of decided I was going to lean into second wind for the champion. What I did was I said, all right, what if we take second wind and say, okay, at level 3, in addition to your critical hit range expanding, let's also say you get 2 uses of second wind. And I threw in this bit where when you score a critical hit, as part of that hit, you can activate your second wind, so you could heal yourself without having to use a bonus action. But also the D10 that you roll as part of the second win becomes part of your weapon attack. And so one of the things that's a bummer about the champion is you can score critical hits, but you don't do a lot of damage with critical hits, right? You're not like a paladin who can smite when they crit. And so I figured throwing in an extra D10, which becomes 2D10, right, for the sake of the damage, and a 1D10 plus your fighter level for healing yourself. I thought that was cool because it's you're keeping your endurance, and when you score a critical hit, it's kind of like you gain your second wind as you gain the advantage over people. And then it also makes it so you're free to use your bonus action for other things too. So I thought that was a cool way to do it. And then additionally, Remarkable Athlete is such a almost non-feature that I just made it part of level 3. So so basically I thought it'd be cool to give the champion expanded uses for second wind to empower their attacks and heal themselves when they crit, and then just make Remarkable Athlete 3rd level ability. Additionally, I made Remarkable Athlete also apply to high jumping, not just long jumping, but that's all. I thought about giving them like a dexterity saving throw proficiency at this level, but I actually ended up incorporating that later than level 3 because I didn't want people to multi-class just to get dex saving throws from this one. Not that that's like game breaking or anything, but I just didn't feel like doing that.
Oh, it's one of the big 3, isn't it, really, the dexterity saving throw. So
yeah.
So you were saying with second wind, you're basically saying we should have two uses per short rest, yeah?
Yeah, 2 uses
and then,
per short rest.
And then have the choice to be able to include that with your critical hit instead.
Not just that, but both. Like you heal yourself, like you roll your second win like usual and heal yourself. But you also add a d10 to your weapon attack for the sake of the crit, so it ends up being like an extra 2d10 when you crit. If you want to use if you have a second win charge to use and you want to use it in that moment.
Okay, yeah, I like that. I think that's really nice. I think it feeds into this kind of this athlete for the champion. I did rework the Remarkable Athlete as well because it didn't feel very remarkable to me. It felt like you're a bit of an all-rounder, and not really remarkable. So my idea was to choose either athletics or acrobatic, and then from now onwards you can make all checks for that chosen skill with advantage. So whether you're a strength-based or a dex-based champion,
I like
you get to actually get a bit of a boost to your. And that feels remarkable to me, and not sort of a bit of an all-rounder. Yeah? And another thing I thought about was to add a little feature, sort of an exploration feature. So as a bonus action for up to 1 minute, you can either increase your movement speed by 10 feet, or you can gain a climbing or swimming speed equal to your walking speed. You regain the use of this ability after a short or long rest. So you can kind of, for a minute, you can push yourself to move around faster or to climb or swim, but you can only do it once per short rest, but it just gives you that little bit of extra sort of stamina on the battlefield once per short rest. So I thought that's how I thought I would bump up the Remarkable Athlete. But I do quite like this idea of kind of merging it in with the 3rd level feature. We could maybe include some of my stuff in. I just still don't think it's game breaking. This.
I like what you came up with because it really feels like you said, they actually are remarkable and not just like a high school mediocre athlete. Being able to gain that climbing or swimming speed as a bonus action is kind of like a nice ace up your sleeve, and just becoming faster. It's like this is your moment where you're really gonna use your athleticism and not burn out.
You can't do it for long. You can only do it for a minute. But it just gives you that ability to just charge around for 1 minute. Before your stamina runs out, basically, but that again sounds slightly remarkable compared to what your average character can do. So that's why I thought about that as an addition.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me a little bit of the Beast Barbarian gets something like this, don't they?
That's
where
what
they can,
I thought of too.
where they can choose to gain whichever form they want. That's why I thought I made it a choice. So you can choose one of these 3 things. So situationally, it can be quite useful. The walking speed, the movement speed one. Actually, I did leave it as a movement speed. So I quite like that idea. If you happen to have a flying speed, I think it would be nice to be able to boost that as well. So if you were playing an Aarakocra champion, you'd actually boost your flying speed by 10 feet as well, just for a minute using this.
Yeah.
So I deliberately didn't make it the walking speed.
For level 7, so since we're talking about Remarkable Athlete for your level 7, I ended up moving the bonus fighting style concept from level 10 to level 7. I went through each fighting style that a fighter can choose. I basically said you can choose to get a second fighting style, or you can choose a new upgraded fighting style based on the one you've already chosen and replace it. So an example would be archery as a fighting style. Right now, it gives you a +2 to your attack rolls when you make ranged weapon attacks. So your accuracy gets +2 essentially. My upgraded version of that is Master Archer, and that becomes a +3 bonus to attack rolls and a +2 bonus to damage rolls. And then I went through each one. I won't go through each one, obviously, because there's like 10 of them after Tasha's gave a bunch of new ones. But some notable ones were like 2-weapon fighting. The upgraded version is 2-weapon fury. and you can choose to do the weapon attack that you usually do with 2-weapon fighting. You can do it, but it won't require your bonus action to do it. Or you can choose to still use your bonus action and you make 2 attacks with it instead. So it's a bonus action for 2 attacks. 2-weapon fighting is notoriously weak in 5e, and it doesn't have any feats that really bump it up like some of the other weapons like pole arms and great weapons and ranged weapons in general. So I thought that was a fun one. And so Champion can really shine with those sorts of fighting style upgrades to become more reliable with some of these like general, well-used, well-known martial class combinations of feats and weapons and everything.
Yeah, so I actually came up with something somewhat similar. So in terms of, because I got stuck with this feature for ages, this additional fighting style as to what to do to make it a bit more interesting. And so I actually came up with the idea of giving the champion another set of fighting styles, and so it's kind of complementary, but also aiming at some of the weapons that just don't get a lot of features at the moment.
Yeah.
And so just to introduce some other bits and bobs. So I introduced a cage fighter, so proficiency with improvised weapons. And if you've already got that, you just gain a +2 to your attack rolls instead. So if you already picked up Tavern Brawler and you've already got this proficiency, then you can actually just boost it. And then a +2 bonus to damage when you're doing improvised weapons. And then I had one for finesse weapons, so +2 to attack rolls when using a finesse weapon. Because a lot of these will feed in, they'll be like complementary. If you're dual wielding finesse weapons, then you're going to get a +2 with each of your finesse weapons. Yeah, so it kind of works that way. I want to do something for light weapons, so I called it the Light Fantastic. If you hit a creature with a melee attack with a light weapon you're wielding, you can immediately attack the same creature again with the same weapon, and you can use this ability once per turn. So they're really, really quick, these daggers, and so I thought that was quite a nice one. I added one for blow guns. There's not much help for blowguns. So there we go. You get a +2 damage to all attacks with a blowgun. And once per turn, you get an additional bonus equal to your constitution modifier. So extra hard with the blowgun.
Your con is like how well you breathe and how hard you can blow the dart.
How hard you can blow the dart. Yeah. I thought that one was fun.
That's clever.
Yeah. And then my idea for the dual wielder was to say, if you manage to hit with one of your one-handed weapon attacks, you can gain advantage on your next attack, as long as it's made with a different one-handed weapon. So the idea is it's really hard to defend against somebody who's wielding 2 one-handed weapons. So if you manage to hit them with one, it's going to make it more likely that you're going to be able to hit them with the other one as well. And so I thought that was quite a nice boost for your dual wielders as well. And then I got Parrymore. So as a direction,
Parrymore.
Yeah, Parrymore. Yeah, Parrymore. So as a reaction, you can parry an attack directed at you or at another creature within 5 feet of you. So it's another kind of reaction. But this one is for one-handed weapons that lack the heavy and special properties, right? So, and then the armor class of the target creature is increased by +3. So it might be you, it might be somebody on the front lines with you. But it's one for your kind of sword and board type defenders. They don't want, or again, if it's a dual wielder, you can also potentially take this one as well. And then I've got Lance a lot. So you get a +1 bonus to attack rolls and a +2 bonus to damage when attacking a creature with a lance, providing that creature is not within 5 feet of you. Right? So because it's already difficult to hit people with lances in close combat, but if you are mounted and you're wielding a lance, you actually gain something that helps you to boost your lancing ability.
Yeah.
And the last one is called Verse or Tail, and this one is for versatile weapon users, so +1 to armor class and +1 to attack rolls when wielding a versatile weapon in both hands. So for your longsword wielders, basically, or your battle axes. So I sort of created I think it's about eight or so new ones to choose from at this level. And then I said, I think you can also choose to replace any fighting styles you already have. I think fighters can now do that anyway when they get to an ASI.
Yeah.
But this way, if you want to pick 2 of the new ones, you can do. But it felt a bit late to me at 10th level. So your idea of moving this up to 7th level sounds quite interesting. And I like the idea of having upgrades available as well. So you can choose an upgraded one, or potentially you could choose one of these new ones as a complementary one.
Yeah.
So I think it would make dips into other classes that get fighting styles quite interesting. A couple of levels of ranger to get a fighting style, or a paladin.
Yeah.
Plus two from your fighter, you can end up with 3 fighting styles. Yeah. So 3 or even 4 if you did both. So it could be quite good fun to combine these together. No, that was my thoughts on that one.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Clever names. My favorite one's the con mod for the blowhard, the blowgun.
Yeah.
one. That's really clever.
Yeah, I like that.
I think it'd be great to take this feature and yeah, just like so like you can do an upgraded fighting style, or you can do these like brand new ones that only the champion gets. So it's a champion exclusive. It's I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I quite like both ideas. I think maybe between us we could maybe boil that down to a list that has a few of them in.
Level 10, since it's now vacant, I moved everything down a level. I made up a new one called Unwavering Poise. You master defensive footwork and positioning in battle, so foes cannot get the drop on you. So I took inspiration from this. Well, first of all, the dex saves was based on the champion just being like this premier athlete, apex specimen, and it kind of builds off remarkable athlete because I didn't want to give it then, so I give it level 10. You get dexterity saving throws, and then if you hit someone with an attack and they attack you, but you've damaged them since their last turn, their previous turn, so basically it lasts for a round. They can't get advantage on you because you're just so good at being defensive with your footwork and how you position yourself, and you don't make attacks that open yourself up to be punished. So they can't get advantage against you. It's not that they have disadvantage, they just can't get advantage. And my inspiration for this was from the Rogues feature, 17 or 19.
Elusive, this one?
Level 18, yeah. So very simple, just no attack roll has advantage against you while you aren't incapacitated. So mine's a remix of that, and it's based on you being like going toe-to-toe with someone or hitting the ranged attacks to kind of put them at a disadvantage while you are good at defending yourself. I don't know if there's a better way to word it. That's what I went with.
Yeah. Okay, I quite like it. I like the idea. Yeah, I think we have to word it in some way to make it a little bit easier. But I get what you're saying. I quite like the concept there. I think I actually had something similar into the 15th level feature. Did I have something?
All right, let's go. Level 15, Superior Critical.
Superior Critical. I think we'll have to think about the 10th level feature, because if we do move the fighting styles up to 7th level, that would leave me without a 10th level feature as well. So yeah, for the Superior Critical, I decided to apply a bit of a debuff. Yeah, so after a critical hit against a creature, that creature gains disadvantage on all its attack rolls until the start of your next turn. So basically they can't attack anything. They get disadvantage on all attacks if you've critically hit them. And again, just sort of leaning into you're the best at doing crits, and when you really hit somebody like this, you're going to knock them back. And so it's building on what I had originally at I think at 3rd level, where I was getting a little bit of a buff at 3rd level if I managed to critically hit something on my next attack. But now they're getting debuffed as well.
What I went with, and this feeds more into the second wind concept that I was using at level 3, is I said when you score a critical hit with a weapon attack, you regain 1 use of second wind. So assuming you've used 1 already, you have 2, used 1, you get 1 back. If you want, as part of that critical hit, you can choose to immediately use it as well, just like the level 3 feature. So you can heal yourself, and you can add the 1d10, which becomes 2d10 to the critical hit. And so basically every time you land a crit, you'll be able to second wind now with this feature is what I went with. And I think this is going to feed into level 18 Survivor, where they just passively regain hit points. And so maybe I've been watching a lot of Demon Slayer, the anime, where they focus a lot on breathing to increase their stamina and their power in combat. But I was just picturing them like being able to second wind. The more crits you land, the longer you're going to last in combat. And I just liked that visual and that mechanic of it. Of my ideas I came up with, I think feeding into second wind and making that better and using it more is what I'm most excited about.
Well, I like that as well. I do like that. Again, you're not going to land a crit that often still.
Yeah.
But it's going to be often enough that you'll be able to top yourself up with hit points. You're going to be really hard to kill once you get to 18th level.
Yeah, I mean, you're still not like a bear barbarian, like resisting almost all damage you take. And so I think it's still within the realm of what the game already allows. And so I don't think it's a game-breaking concept to have a fighter champion that is really hard to take down.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about an elven champion with elven accuracy.
Yeah.
If you're able to get advantage on your attacks, so let's say you shoved somebody prone, right, and then you action surge and you go all in.
Yeah.
So I guess they'll need to be. I mean, maybe it's a once per turn limit on your ability to use your second wind.
That's probably a good way to rein it in. Is just say once per turn.
Yeah. Yeah, because otherwise, if you've got like elven triple advantage and you're rolling crits on 18, 20, and you action surge for 6 attacks, possibly a 7th with a bonus action, you're going to be landing a couple of those probably. You'll be critting a couple of times, I think, with the math on that. So that would really because you're rolling a heck of a lot of dice. on 7 attacks. So you're rolling 21 dice.
Yeah, I'm putting that as a note in my own revision notes, as I'm going to consider that. Maybe it's once per turn. Maybe there's some other limitation I give, but I think you're right. It is a good idea. Once you start thinking of things like Elven Accuracy, where you can really fish for crits, then might get a little out of hand.
I mean, but I still think, even if it's a once a turn ability, I think it would still be really strong. You could also, as it's a fighter, you could maybe make it once per action, and then that way, if you do use your action surge, you get another use of it, which kind of ties in really nicely with the action surge feature.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, so I think that kind of complements the fighter's ability to do 2 attack actions.
I like that.
But it reins it in just a tiny bit, because
yeah,
otherwise you might get it a bit too much, right? So
yep.
I mean, the other way to rein these things in is usually, just to link them to like a proficiency bonus times per rest or something like that, or a long rest or something. Just to say you can use it, but you can't use it all the time. So that's the other way that typically things get reined in. But action surge, you get 1 or 2 of those for short rest.
You get 2 of them at high levels.
You get 2 of them
at
high levels. For a long time,
you only have 1.
Yeah. So I don't think it's over the top to be able to do this twice in a round of combat.
Okay.
And twice on your turn.
Great. Good notes.
Yeah, really cool. Yeah, I like that. I like that more than what I have. So for that, I think it's really nice.
You really, I think you overshadowed my Battle Rager Barbarian revision. So I tried to bring my A game for this one.
No, I really like it. I love this idea of feeding into the features that are already there. Right, I think it's really nice, and making them better. I think the Purple Dragon Knight kind of tried to do that a bit.
Yeah, it came to my mind when I was thinking of these ideas.
Yeah, but it didn't do it very well. So
right.
But I like this more. I did like this more because you're getting more uses anyway of your existing features, and then you're using them for something else as well. So it also feels a bit like the newer druids. All the new druids are getting used different ways to use their abilities. So their shape-shifting abilities. So I quite like that. Yeah, that's great.
Survivor, level 18. If you're below half your hit points, then you just passively start regaining hit points at the start of your turn, and it's equal to 5 plus your con modifier. So let's say maybe you have a +3. It means you're regaining 8 hit points at the start of each of your turns, which at high levels you're probably dying faster than that, but it's still nice to have. And it doesn't work if you're at 0 hit points, so you don't just regenerate when you're dying. How did you change this, if at all?
No, so this is the one feature that I felt was already pretty nice. So I think you become pretty tanky at this point, and you've got the ability to just drop back off the front line if that's an option. Tactically, you can drop off for a round, and then by the time you come back again, you've got 16 hit points, return to you, or 20 if you've got a high Constitution modifier. I think it really rewards you. I mean, the fighter gets so many ASIs anyway, and this really rewards you for putting some extra Constitution on top of all the extra hit points that you get anyway. So I didn't change this at all. I just thought it was really nice already. So this feature I left unchanged.
Let me see what I came up with. So I just added one more sentence to it, and I said, additionally, when you use your Indomitable feature, because I think Indomitable kind of has a similar endurance feature for the fighter like Second Wind does, but it's based on saving throws. So when you use your Indomitable feature and you pass a saving throw because you used Indomitable, you regain 1 use of Second Wind. It's just another way to gain back your Second Winds when you pass a saving throw.
I think these abilities that regain the Second Winds will obviously have to be somehow limited, so you can't have more than 2 uses available at any time. Yep. But it encourages you to use it, right? And then you can get it back again.
Yeah, completely. Part of me is this might have a bag of rats issue where someone could, not really bag of rats, but someone could potentially use a weak spell on you knowing you'll probably pass with Indomitable so you can get Second Wind, but that seems like a big cost to just get Second Wind back when you already have ways to do it. So I don't think there would be an issue with that. Can you think of anything that this would be abused?
And at late 18th level as well, and so a pretty high level gameplay at that point. I mean, Second Wind is nice, and being able to add it to your critical hits is also very nice. So I think that's the one area to look at. But I can't see that somebody wasting their action to cast a spell on you at that level of play is going to be all that efficient, just to give you an extra plus 10 or up to plus 20 damage in one attack. So compared to what your average spellcaster can do at that level, I think I don't think it's going to be open to too much abuse.
Well, I feel good about it then. Thank you.
Yeah, I like that one as well. I like that. So I think it's feeding into what's going on. So it's again what the Purple Dragon Knight kind of should have done. Maybe that's next.
Yeah, maybe that is next. We're warmed up now.
Warming up on the fighters. Yeah. So.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Shard. It's always a pleasure to do this. We'll go ahead and say goodbye for now. Y'all have a good adventure this weekend. Bye.
Bye, everybody.